So did you guys know that I'm a big fat liar? Yeah. So I in fact have a book haul for you guys. So this was not anticipated, but I woke up on Saturday morning and Chad and I were talking and he was like, do you want to go to a bookstore? And I was like, yeah, I in fact do. I don't know why, what kind of question is that? Of course I want to go to a bookstore. Duh. We went to Goodwill, Savers, and Half Price Books. And I definitely found more than enough. One of these is from a Goodwill run from the week prior that I wasn't gonna tell you guys about. But here we are. Yeah, so I've got books from Goodwill, from Savers, from a multitude of different places. The biggest thing, all these books are secondhand, so these were not a lot of money for me to acquire. If you like book hauls, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more bookish and crochet content. I would love to have you as a part of our little growing community, and let's hop in. So the first book I have is a Barnes & Noble Classics Heart of Darkness and Selected Short Fiction by Joseph Conrad. So Heart of Darkness is about a riverboat captain named Marlowe as he is on a voyage into the African Congo at the height of European colonialism. So it is him witnessing a lot of the horrors of colonialism and imperialism and the terrible things that the Europeans do to the African people. I thought that this would be really interesting. I feel like I have heard of this before. I feel like I've heard of a lot of things before and then I know nothing of what they're about. There's a few other books like that in here. In this haul, this is also like mostly classics and or I think one of them's like a banned book. Next is a Folger Shakespeare Library of Romeo and Juliet. So if you watched the other book haul I did pick up a copy of A Merchant in Venice, and one of the stores had a Romeo and Juliet. I recently have been exposed to a different lens of which to look at Romeo and Juliet through. So we all know that it is one of Shakespeare's tragedies, but it is made fun of a lot for these two kids unaliving themselves. This booktuber that I was watching was like, the reason why it's a tragedy is because it's sad that these two children died because their family had a blood feud. And because their deaths made the feud go away. They realized that it really wasn't that important and that their children essentially died for nothing. And I think that that would be a much more interesting viewpoint to look at this through. And I haven't read this since I was a freshman in high school, so it's definitely something I want to return to and see how I feel looking at it from that lens, because a lot of people just think like, oh, you know, they're dumb kids and it was stupid that they did that to themselves. But I think when we really look at it for the tragedy that it is, that happened, that's a much different thought process. So I want to return to it, see what I think. Next, I believe this is a banned book. So this is Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me. So this is a letter to his son about being black in the United States and how to kind of exist in a black body. In a profound work that pivots from the biggest questions about American history and ideals to the most intimate concerns of a father for his son, Ta-Nehisi Coates offers a powerful new framework for understanding our nation's history and current crisis. Americans have built an empire on the idea of race, a falsehood that damages all of us but falls most heavily on the bodies of black women and men, bodies exploited through slavery and segregation, and today threatened, locked up, and murdered out of all proportion. What is it like to inhabit a black body and find a way to live within it? And how can we all honestly reckon with this fraught history and free ourselves from its burden? So I've heard of this book before. I didn't realize how little it was. Next, I do already have a copy of this book, but I didn't have this copy. So this is a Black Penguin classic of The Crucible. The Crucible is one of my favorite plays. I actually played Mary Warren in it in a community ed production when I was in high school. This is about the Salem witch trials, but it's an allegory for McCarthyism and, you know, the Red Scare and how people were like, oh, you're a communist, you're a communist, you're a communist, when really that's not how things were really going down. I need to return to this for sure. I loved this when I was younger. And then, so it's like I was in the production and then we went and studied it in my AP Lang class that following fall. And it was so fun. I do already have a Penguin Plays edition of this. It's the red covered one. It's really cute, but I've been collecting Black classics and I know that this is one of my favorites. So because I saw it secondhand, I would not have bought this firsthand, like I wouldn't have bought it new, but because it was like $2 secondhand, I was like, I can have this. Next is The Wasteland and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot. I know I've heard of T.S. Eliot before, but I don't know much about him. The Wasteland is an oblique and fascinating view of the hopelessness and confusion of purpose in modern Western civilization. Published in 1922, The Wasteland is a series of fragmentary dramatic monologues and cultural quotations that cross-fade into one another. So it's about, I believe, living during the Dust Bowl era. So, and this one's really small too, just more poetry. I've been really drawn to poetry recently. I'm not sure why, it's just is what's happening. Next is an Oxford World's Classic. I found this at Savers. I was really surprised, and I will say I did not look, I just bought, but I think this will be really interesting. So this is John Clare Major Works, including selections from the Shepherd's Calendar. So it says John Clare is now recognized as one of the greatest English Romantic poets after years of indifference and neglect. Clare was an impoverished agricultural laborer whose genius was not generally appreciated by his contemporaries, and his later mental instability further contributed to his loss of critical esteem. But the extraordinary range of his poetical gifts has resorted him to the company of his contemporaries Byron, Keats, and Shelley. This fine selection illustrates all aspects of his talent. So I looked at the introduction, and this is what the first kind of little section says. Although John Clare's genius has yet to be properly acknowledged and affirmed by that amorphous throng of readers, teachers, and critics who sometimes absent-mindedly decide reputations, he is England's greatest nature poet, and not in that memory lost he describes in his most tragic poem, I Am. I am, yet what I am no one cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. Clare was mentally ill when he wrote these lines in 1844, and shortly after his death in 1864, they were published in The Spectre, where the 20-year-old Gerard Manley Hopkins read them and transcribed them into his notebook. So I think that I'm really gonna like this, especially like an agricultural laborer. I work in ag, so and I'm mentally ill, so maybe me and Claire are like gonna get along. Next is The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. So this is a chunk of a book. Essentially, these people are going on a quest, and there's this group of people going on a quest, and they all have to take turns telling a story. So it's both one big poem. It's in verse. It's in verse. It's both one big poem and a lot of short little stories. So I'm really interested in understanding this one a little bit more. The only thing, I do have a copy of The Canterbury Tales already. I didn't buy this because I didn't know. I bought it because there are editions where the English is like quote unquote like cleaned up or like shortened and all that for the sake of modernity, like modernizing the text, and I wanted a big fat old English version. Okay, so for reference, here's that Penguin Plays edition of The Crucible. Isn't this so cute? I know that this is like objectively cuter than the other one, but I was like, it's what I wanted. So there's that. But then here is the Canterbury Tales that I had, and then here's the Barnes & Noble edition. Like, look at that. This is Neville Coghill's masterly and vivid modern English verse translation is rendered with the consummate skill to retain all the vigor and poetry of Chaucer's 14th century Middle English. So I believe this is the Middle English version and this is the modernized version. So that's why I now have 2 of the Canterbury Tales. Next, I have Jean-Jacques Rousseau, The Social Contract. So on the back it says, "Man was born free and he is everywhere in chains. These are the famous opening words of a treatise that has not ceased to stir vigorous debate since its first publication in 1762. Rejecting the views that anyone has a natural right to wield authority over others, Rousseau agrees instead for a pact or social contract that should exist between all citizens of a state and that should be the source of sovereign power." So it's philosophy. And speaking of philosophy, I also got Plato's Republic. And I believe that Republic is like him talking about a totalitarian government. So on the introduction page, it says, "Why read Republic? Many people will come to the Republic with some knowledge of its contents, and what they will usually know about the work is that it advocates a totalitarian society ruled by philosophers. Not even a professional academic is likely to find such a proposal attractive. So why bother to read the Republic?" And I just thought this edition was so pretty. So I've been kind of interested in philosophy. I keep buying philosophy books and then not reading them. I got a lot on my plate right now, okay? We'll get to it. That's the thing. I'm building a life library. That's what I always say. I'm building a life library and I'm buying mostly secondhand, and I'm buying books that I feel like will really stretch my mind, because I used to buy more romance books, but then I would like read them and get rid of them right away because I was just like, okay, cool. And you know what? That's what the library is for. Library is for my romance books because I do have a good time with them. I mean, there are a few that I didn't like, but most romance books I'm pretty down with. But because I don't like keeping them, the library, that's where it's at, man. And then the last book is a behemoth. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This is considered one of the best literary thrillers of all time, and it's about a man who is wrongly imprisoned who I believe is searching for revenge. So it is 1,462 pages. This is probably the longest book I own and would be the longest book that I've ever read when I finish it. And so this is a modern library classics. That's the last book. Thank you so much for watching today. I know that I keep saying I'm not gonna buy any more books. Maybe I just need to stop making that promise. I think thrifting books is a great way to build your library. I love thrifting books. I love getting books secondhand. I almost prefer it to a brand new pristine edition because I don't know, I've bought books from Barnes & Noble that have been like so bad looking, and then it makes me sad because I'm like, I paid full price for this and it looks like shit. So I like if a book is like lightly loved. Like I would say that this book is like lightly loved. Like we have some, you know, kind of coming off the side here, or in this one, like we have some annotations here. And I think that that'll be fun, and it doesn't mess with my ability to see the page. So I think that those are fun. Or, you know, I also thrifted this one. This looks damn near brand new, but there's like a little bit of a tear up top there. I don't mind when books look like somebody loved them before me. I actually quite like it. I think that it is part of the fun of thrifting books. Be careful though, some thrifted books smell really bad, so chuck them in the freezer for like a week and then call it good. But yeah, I guess we'll see what I get up to. I don't think I'm gonna be going to a bookstore anytime soon. It's so hard. I love my boyfriend so much. He's a bit of an enabler. He's like, oh, do you want to go to a bookstore? Yeah, I want to go to a bookstore. Why would I tell you no? What kind of question is that? But okay, sorry, I will stop rambling. Thank you so much for joining me today. I enjoyed showing you all of my new books. Let me know what you're reading down in the comments below. Give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.